Okay. So we're talking about database, and what is the objective today? Objective is to fire queries from database, sorry, from Python to database, right? So can we handle the database from Python, right? Okay. We have already discussed how to access the files. No, right? That's what we'll do next. Okay. So see, whenever you're connecting to somebody else, like why I'm saying somebody, because here it is you are Python, okay, and Python is one programming language, and then we have another programming language, SQL, right? So it's like out of your scope, right? Outside your home, right? Outside your comfort zone, right? So when you have to go outside your home, you need to know where you want to go, and you need to have a path. Is there some way to connect, right? If it is all within Python, then you don't have to do that. Directly start a equal to 5 and you perform whatever you want to perform, right? But if you have to connect to some other source, different source, and same thing happens when you connect to text file, okay, or anything which is outside of Python, you need to have a connectivity, or you should need to know where you need to go. Like if you have to connect to a file, you need to know which file to connect to. If you are talking about database, you need to know which database to connect to. Okay, so there is a command called connect. Okay, and we have seen that you can have different databases, right? So there is a library, okay, module for each database to work with. Okay, today we'll talk about SQLite. Okay, so SQLite 3. Okay, SQLite 3 is a database which comes with your pre-installed Python. Okay, okay, so you directly connect to SQLite 3, and you can get your work done. Okay, and database will be connected within your Python. And there's some advantage of SQLite 3. Okay, the advantage is that it does not, it does not require username password. Okay, this database does not require username password. And how secure it is. Okay, it does not allow connectivity from other system. You cannot install this on a server, right? So yes, these are these restrictions. So advantage is that, let's say if you're developing a mobile app and you want some database to be on the user's location, this is best. Okay, because you don't have to worry about username, password, and security, because users will have access to their phone, right? Of course, if your phone you give to somebody else, they have all your access anyways. Okay, that's one. Second thing is it is very light. Okay, there's no complex installation that is required for this. But yes, when you are dealing with, let's say, server kind of situation, where so obviously you will have different modules. So PyMySQL is for MySQL, and similarly you have other modules for um, other databases. Like SQL Server will have its own module. Okay, now so this is what you need to it will be unique for every database. Okay, so if you want to work with SQLite 3, you will call SQLite 3 module. If you want to work with MySQL, you will call PyMySQL module, right? So so that this is one difference. And second difference is the connection, the string that we make. Okay, connection string. Now here you say sorry, here you have SQLite 3, SQLite 3 dot connect. Okay, connect. Okay, so every module, okay, that you will use, okay, will have connect, and in connect you give the um, the details to connect. Okay, so I told you SQLite 3 is always on your local machine, so we don't have to give server name. It is always it does not have username password. You don't have to give username password. Only thing you have to give is, let's say you have to give database. Okay, so let's say I call this database as IES1.db. Okay, so let's go to I. So you see all py, right? Now when I run this, See, is1.db got created. Just one click and it got created. We didn't have to install anything. Okay. Now, if you're using other databases, right? So you will obviously you would install, right, those modules, and then here you will mention database equal to username equal to password equal to server name equal to, right? Server name for SQL Server is the database that you create and the machine name, right? On which machine that is there. So if you have to work in network, sometimes you have to give IP addresses, okay? Because machine name may not work. So you give IP address as machine name. So then it knows how to connect. So connect, okay, we'll know how to connect, okay? So we don't have to worry about how to connect to the database. These two lines will be different for different database. After this, whatever we do will be same for whatever database you work with. Only the how to connect is different, right? Once you get connected, because all these database uses SQL and we are focusing on SQL only, right? So all, so after this, everything is same. Doesn't matter whether you are using MySQL or SQL Server or any database server. Okay. Okay. So database is created. Now, SQLite3, one more thing is, if database doesn't exist, it will create the database. Okay. It will not give you error that database doesn't exist. If it is not, that it will create it. If it is there, it will connect to it. Okay. So next time when I run, it will connect to it. Okay. Because the database is there. Okay. So when you run it, database is there, so it will connect. Okay. Now, first thing first, we'll create a table. How to create a table? What is the command to create a table?
Create table, table name.
Okay. Create table. So for Python, it is just a text. For Python, Python doesn't understand create table, isn't it? So for Python, it is just a text, which is string. Okay. So Python is just a string. So how do you write? You said, sorry, go ahead. Create table.
Table name.
Table. Let's say I'd say student. Okay. Students. Then you give bracket,
And
right?
data type and it's
And I've used triple quotation because I'm going to write a multi-line string, right?
okay.
So create table student, okay, and then let's say you give roll number, right?
Yeah.
Roll
Column
number is, yeah, column name. So let's say roll number is integer,
Yeah, int, comma.
right? And integer we write here, and let's say this is primary key.
Yeah.
Okay, so roll number became primary key. You give name or student or name. Let's say name. So this is your text. Okay, yeah, it can be varchar, it can be text. Okay, let's say you have salary. Salary is for L, right? Let's say fees. Okay, fees can be real number, right? Then exactly the same that you have written for create table, you can copy and paste it here if you want to. Okay, whatever we did in the SQL Server thing. Sorry. So let's say admission date. Okay, admission date. Okay, and then you can say here, you can give it as a date, okay, or you can give it as a text, whatever, right? So let's say I give it as date. Okay. Okay, so this is a, see, for I just said, right, for Python it is just a text. So even if I make mistake here, let's say I give only primary, I don't give key. Okay, and when I run it, okay, Python will not know that you made a mistake, right? Python, see, it's not giving any, because for Python it's just a string. Okay, so you will not know that um, uh, that you have made a mistake here. When we execute, that's when but SQL will give you error, right? When you, okay. So now let's run it and see if it works fine or not. So how do you run it? So this is your create table. Now I have to execute the command. Okay. So connection string that we created, this has all the information, which database, where, all those things. Okay. So I'm going to say connection dot string dot execute. You see execute. Okay. Here you pass this create tab. That's it. Now let's run it. So see, so this is the SQLite error, right? Near comma, right? So this is the error that we are getting. So we'll say, you go and fix it. Now you run it, no error, correct? It has created the table. How do you know it has created the table? You run it again. See, you got this message that table already exists, right? So that means our create table has been successful. Okay. So now I'm going to comment it out because, table is already created, right? So I don't want to run it again and again. Next is we will add some data to it. Okay. How do we add some data? So what query do we use to add data?
Insert.
Insert, right? So let me say here insert one equal to. Okay, again we'll write multi-line text. So we say insert into. Insert into. This is your table name, students. Insert into students, right? And then you give the columns, correct?
Yes.
And then you give values, right? So let's say I just give name and roll number, let's say. So I give roll, no, so roll is a column, and then name is the column, right? So I give here 1001001, and see the text in database is always single quote, right? When you alias, we give double quote. When you give the value, it is single quote, isn't it? So let's say I give name Sachin. Okay. Now if I have to run it, okay, now I can do it maybe 4, 5. That's why I give only few, so we can actually give 5. So okay, so here you can say 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Okay. Okay. Now I have to execute it, isn't it? So I'll say connection string dot execute. I need to execute each line. So insert one. Okay. And I'll just copy this and paste it after every insert. Okay. And I'll run it. So no error. That means data has been inserted into the database table. Okay. Now let me run it again. If I run it again, what will happen? It should give me error, isn't it?
Yes, it says also already.
Yes. But no, it's not giving error. Why? It's not giving error because we have not committed. So create table, okay, will create the table. Okay, it will not have any what do you call it's not a temporary query. It's not a temporary command. But when you do insert, update, right, these are temporary. So what happens when you connect the database, it'll create a temporary session. It'll create a temporary session. So whatever you do in that session, will be created and stored. Okay. And that's what I think we discussed this when we discussed SQL. So it'll create that temporary session. And when you say commit, it's like this, right? You open a Word document, you make all the changes, but will that save the Word document? No, right? Word document will not be saved until you hit save, right? So you open a Word document or any file and you make any changes, whatever, delete, add, all those things. But when you don't save it, okay, whatever you have done is gone, right? It will not be saved. Similarly, since it's created temporary session, the data that you perform, okay, like insert or update or delete, all those things are done in a temporary session for you. And when you don't save it, it will not get saved. You have to save it. How do you save it? So you have something called as commit. Okay, we did that, commit and rollback, right? So you can do rollback. If you don't save it, automatically it does rollback. What it does here is rollback. Okay, so it actually, we need to give commit here. So I'll say constring dot commit. Now when I run it, okay, done. Now again, if I try to run it, now you see unique constraint violated, students dot roll. So now our database has information saved. Correct? Okay. Make sense? So we performed insert. Next, what should we do?
Insert type often will display, right? We need to display.
Okay, so we'll display. How do we display?
Select staff from students or select staff from students.
Slow.
I mean, to select staff from students.
Select star from students, right? So yes, so select star will help us to read the data from the database, right? Yes. So what we'll do is we will write a query again. Now again, if I go ahead.
Only one record got inserted, right?
Sorry.
Only one record got inserted,
Why
right?
only one record got inserted?
Like you're using same variable, can we use the same one? Like
I'm inserting and then I'm using, no? If I had not done here, if I had done.
every time we are saying to execute and insert, so it's inserting.
Yes. If I had given only one here, then only this one would have inserted. This wouldn't have gone. But I'm inserting every time, correct?
Okay.
So all got inserted. So I'm going to comment it because again, if I run it, it's going to throw error, right? So comment the execute part. Okay. Select doesn't need the commit, but we will put it here because we'll write all our other update and delete. So, we'll put commit at the bottom, but select doesn't require commit. Okay. So now we'll create a statement here called select query equal to select. Okay. You said star from students. Okay. So now we have to execute it, isn't it? So I'm going to say constring dot execute, and here I'm going to say select query. Okay, so it'll execute it, right? Execute it. But what happened? So insert was one-way thing. You're telling, and that's what we discussed in another one also, right? When you perform insert or update or things like that, it is one way, right? You're pushing to the database. Now, when you have to read it, right? Reading, okay, reading would mean that you are getting something back. Insert, update, delete, you're not getting anything back. For reading, you are getting something in return. So you are it's like you ran the query, but also now you should be able to get it, right? So to get it, I have to create an object here. So it's called cursor object, okay? So I have to create an object, cursor object equal to. Now this cursor object has all the information from the database, right? So how do you get the information? So you can use here like, let's say rows equal to, okay, cursor object dot fetch all, fetch one, fetch many, okay? If you want to get all the data, say fetch all. Fetch all will give you all the record. If you say fetch one, you'll only get the first one, okay? So you say rows equal to fetch all. Now rows has all the data, okay? So it is just an object here, okay, which is representing everything. Now when I say fetch all, that's how object is created into a collection. So this is a collection. How do you get the collection values? Okay, so we use here, you can say for row in rows, right? Print row. Okay, so row, if you print, it is printing at C as a tuple. So you get value as a tuple. Once you get it as tuple, you know what to do, right? You can use all your knowledge of tuple to play with this data. I want only name. So I'll say row of 2. No, row of 2 will be none, right? Row of 1. Okay, counting starts from 0 in Python. So this is your row of 0. This is row of 1. So when you run it, you get only names here. So this is how you can perform select from database. Yes, no, maybe.
Got it.
Okay. So let's look at other two operations also. What is the other two operation? Update. Right? So let's write update query equal to, how do we update? So we write update with update. Update what? Okay. Update what? Update students. Okay. Then after update, we have to say set. Which column you want to update? So set. Set what? Let's say we have fees, right? What is the third column here? Fees. Let's update fees. Set fees equal to 100. Now when I say, okay, let's here, let's delete it. Okay, we want to see all the values in the database. Okay, so we'll remove it. Okay, so now, okay, we updated fees. Okay, now let's run it and see what happens. Okay, second time when you run it, what happened? Why is this not getting updated? Think?
We normally write execute.
Yes, we have to give execute, right? Otherwise, how will it execute? That's why
Oh.
it is not getting executed. Okay. Constring dot execute, and then you say update queue. Okay. So
All the
now,
students.
sorry.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So every student has 100, isn't it?
We didn't mention particular student.
Right. So you have to say where. Okay. Where. Okay. Now let's change it to 110. Where. So when you're using update, you have to be very careful. See, here it is only 5 record. It's easy to manage. But if you have thousands of records, imagine the kind of havoc it can create if you make a small mistake in update, everybody's salary will become same, right? So you don't want to do that. So fees equal to 110 where, so always update you use where, okay? Where role equal to, let's say I do it for Sunil. So 1003. Now you see, you got 110 here. So this is how you can perform update. What is the last command that we need to run? Delete, isn't it? So we will perform delete. I say delete. Now let's write delete query. Delete query is
Delete staff from students where.
delete star.
Not, sorry. Delete from students like.
Okay. Delete from students where role equal to, let's say I remove Kohli 104 and you execute it. Okay, commit. Okay, so when you run it, it is the old data, right? Now when you run it, Kohli is still there. Why it is still there?
You need to mention delete queue. You have kept update queue in execute function.
Copy paste error. Okay, gone.
Delete.
Okay. So this is how you can perform different this is how you can perform different database operations through Python. Okay. Now you see, actually there's one problem here. What is the problem?
Can we
Sorry, go ahead.
Can we perform truncate option too?
Yes, anything can perform. You put your SQL query, whatever query you want, and you execute. That's it. Okay. If it returns any output, you know how to do it using this. This is to if you get some output. Okay. If you don't get output, then that's fine. Execute is good enough, right? So see, for Python, doesn't matter what query it is. For Python, it's just a string, right? So Python doesn't even know we are doing select or insert. Okay. For Python, it's just a text. Okay, and it is executing. So when you take to database, you can perform whatever query. Every query that we did, you can try doing it. You can put that in a list. Okay, and you can put a for loop and read the content from the list and keep updating. You can do like that, right? So the point I was talking about is create table is fine where you know exactly that what you want to create, right? Which column name, column type, etc. But when you are actually trying to insert or update, right? So here we said 1004 because I know it is 1004, but in actual practice, when you're actually working, you may not know the exact value because it depends upon the user. Okay, it depends upon the user. So you have to make these conditions dynamic. So I know I have to delete from student, but roll number is 104. Let's say I don't want to delete Corey, I want to delete somebody else. Okay, so you are depending on the user to give you the value, right? You're depending upon the user to give you the value. Okay, so the way you will work there is different because you cannot simply say, equal to 1004, right? So for dynamic commands, this is little different. Okay, and then we will see how it is different. Okay, so let's say I want to insert a new data. Okay, and I'll put comment here. I want to insert a new data based on the user input. Okay, insert based on user input. So again, let's take only roll number and name. So I'm going to say roll number equal to int of input. Okay, enter the roll number. Okay, and I'm going to say name, right? So name student equal to input, enter the name. Fine. So now you got two variables, roll number and name. So I cannot copy and paste the same insert. Okay. I can copy and paste same insert to an extent. Okay. Let me copy and then I'll show you how different it is. Okay. Now values here is not as a fixed value. Okay. So what you do here is you actually replace these values with question mark. Okay. So values which are dynamic, you replace with question mark. Okay. Value which are dynamic, we replace with question mark. Okay. So this is your insert command. Now, the values that you want to insert along with this, you have to declare like a tuple. Okay. You have to declare like a tuple. Okay. How? So I'm going to say dynamic value or whatever equal to, not hyphen underscore, I meant equal to, okay, this, and here you can say a role, right, and the same order. Okay, I have to give in same order, name st, correct? These are the two values. Now when you are doing execute here, okay, you say execute insert comma row, the dynamic value variable that you have created. So all the values should be passed together as a tuple. Now when you run it, okay, so this is the old data. You're asking me to enter a roll number. Let's say roll number I enter 1004. Okay, and name I enter, let's say Zahir. Okay, now when you run it, see there's no error. Okay, so when you run it, so see 104 Zahir has been inserted. You can say 106, and let's say you say Rohit. Okay, now when you run it, so see Rohit is inserted. Right? So this is how you can create dynamic values. So values which are dynamic, you replace with question mark. Okay, that is step number one. Step number two is you get the value and form a tuple, and you insert tuple. So tuple, it knows that, okay, first question will take tuple of 0. Second question will take tuple of 1. Okay, and values will be added to this.
Swapnil, you have inserted 1004, right? But it still haven't there. Why?
It didn't happen. Okay, let's run it again. Rohit
Before
is here.
it was
Because
inserted.
we have delete 104 we are doing, correct? So we are inserting and we are deleting.
So that's why maybe it was deleted.
Yes. So 1004, after, even though we inserted, you don't see it because our delete query is still active.
Yes, after entering 106,
Yeah. Yeah. If you comment it out, it will be gone.
yes, got it.
Right? Yes. So this is how you can work with database and execute any query from your Python to the database. Fine. Okay. So today is last day, right, of the week for us. Okay. Yeah. If we had the other class, we could have, completed it. I want to talk about how to. We still have 10 minutes, right? So let's talk about it, and then we'll continue next week. How to read a file. Okay. How to read a text file. How to read a JSON file. How to read a we'll talk about CSV file. So first, let's do today. We'll be able to do some portion of text file. Okay, let's see how much we can do. So let me put this away for now. Okay. So again, see, text file is something outside Python, just like we discussed about database. Okay. It is something outside text file. So we have to create some kind of connection, some kind of, okay, connectivity to that. So I'm going to say file connection or whatever, right? Equal to, now you define, it is open is a function. Just like we had connect in database, to connect to database, in file you open the file, isn't it? You open the file to perform read or write. See, when you have file, you can only perform read or write. Okay, you can read from file or you can write to file. Okay, so but for reading or writing, you have to do open the file, right? So I'm saying file connection equal to open, and then you can give the file name that you want to connect to. So you can give absolute path or relative path. What is absolute path? Absolute path is where you give along with drive, right? C:/ folder 1, folder 2, so on. Or you can give simply the absolute relative path. Relative path is from where you are. Okay, I am at this location, PR1. So from PR1 where I am. Okay, so let's say from PR1, you see, this is abc.txt. You can click here. Okay, this is abc.txt. So what I'll do is, let me open abc.txt. So I'll say abc.txt. Now, let me give abc1.txt. Then what happens? This is still, okay. So you get file not found error. Okay, file not found. Obviously, file is not there. Okay. Now, what happened? Okay, when I try to open this file, okay, it is trying to open for read. Okay, by default, when you open it, it is open for read. So default is read. So when you want to read a file, and that file has to be there, otherwise how can you read a file? So it says file not found error. Now if I open for write, if you want to write something, then file may not be there, right? Because you want to write to it. So that means you want to create a new file, isn't it? You may want to create a new file. So you don't have to have a existing file, correct? So in that case, what we do, we have to tell specifically to the Python or to the file connection that I want to open in a write mode. Now see here, Python, if you open in read mode, you can only read. If you open in write mode, you can only write. If you open in append mode, you can only append. Now what is the difference between append and write? Write will remove the old content. So whenever you say write will remove the old content, and whatever you are writing will be written. So old content is removed every time with write. If you want to maintain the old content, if you want to add to the existing content, we use append. So depending upon what you want to do, you have to be using this mode. Okay, R is for R mode. Okay, W is for write mode, and A is for append mode. Okay, apart from these three, you also have R plus, W plus, and A plus. R plus means read and write. You want to do both read and write. If you want to perform both read and write operation, then you have to say R plus. W plus, you have to do write and read operation. So what is the difference between read plus and W plus? Read and write and write and read. It's the same thing, right? So since we are giving R first, the file has to be there. If file is not there, R plus will not work. R plus will give you file not found error. But W plus will not give you file not found error, because you are saying that first I want to write, and then doesn't matter what you do. You can read first and write first. It does not restrict the way you handle it. but the way you convey it is important. If you say that I want to write and read, you said, okay, fine, then open in any file. If you said, no, I want to read and write, oh, read means you have to have an existing file. Okay, that's the only difference. Otherwise, it's the same. Append and read. Okay, append and read. That means you want to append the existing file with the new data. So you have to be careful about what you want to do, right? Especially with write and append. Okay, so you have 6 modes in which you can open a file. Okay, read, read only, that is R, read only, R plus, read and write. W, write only, RW plus, read and write and read. A, append only, A plus, append and read. So where do we give the mode? Here we give the mode. You can say comma, MODE, mode equal to, you can say write. Now if I say write here and when I run it, you see error is gone. And in fact has created, it should have created, okay? What is that? ABC1, right? Don't see it. See, ABC1.txt is already created. You refresh it, you will see it. So ABC1.txt is already created. Okay. Now, if you read, nothing is there. So let's see how to write to it, and then we will read from it. So to write, we have function called as write. So file con dot write. So if you see with write, you have 3 main options: write lines, write, and writable. Writable is to check if you can write to a file. So if you open in read mode, and if you check writable, it gives you false. Writable is like asking question, is it writable or not? So you'll get either true or false. In this case, if you print writable, you'll get true. Okay. So you can always say writable, check. You can always check. Okay. And if writable, and then you start writing. Okay. Just as a good practice. Okay. Now I want to write. That means obviously I open in write mode. So this file is writable. Okay. It will be true. And now you start writing it. So how do you start writing it? File con dot write. Now write, you can write any text. Write lines, you can provide multi lines. Okay. Now when you say write lines, it needs input in a list format, list of strings. Okay, write lines will take list of strings. Each line is a value in list. And if you have some text, you can say write, simply write what? Some content, right? So you can define the content here. I can say content equal to twinkle, twinkle, little star. Okay, you can give multi-line, right? So I'll remove this and I give multi-line text. And star, right? Not star. Twinkle little star. How I wonder what you are. Okay. Now let's run it. Okay. Now you can go and click on it. abc.txt, you see, it got added. Right. Now when I run it twice, thrice, 4, 5, 6, what happened? Okay, 5 times I ran. Now let's go and see what happened here. Nothing. Why? We opened in write mode. So write mode means keep writing over it. Okay. So second time when I ran it, old content got deleted and written with new content. Okay. Now instead of W, if I say append mode, A. And now when I run it, 1. So remember, there's already one version which was there because of write. So when I said 1, so it is old one plus new one, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be 5 times, right? Let's go and check. You see, twinkle, twinkle, little star, 1, right? And we did not give new line. So it is it started writing from the same place. You see? So this is how 5 times the text got printed. We'll stop here today. Okay. And please practice these things. Okay. Next week when we meet Sunday, we will continue talking about how to read write to files. Okay. With that, our core Python work will be done. Okay. Then we can take up Python visualization, or we can take up data warehousing. We can decide, and then we can get into those field, those topics. Okay, I hope you guys are practicing. We'll do one project. Okay, next week we'll do one project. One project that will require all our whatever we have done so far. Okay, so we'll take one project. All good?
Yes, Swapnil. Thank you.
Okay, sure. No problem. Had a good weekend, everyone, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Take care. Bye, everyone.